Music, one of life's greatest pleasures, has tremendous power. The power to bring a tear to the eye or quiet a racing mind. Music also has the power to heal and has been used through the ages to treat depression, create energy, induce sleep, relieve chronic pain, reduce stress, and even cure diseases. And now, musician and author Michael Tyrrell has created Whole Tones, the healing frequency music projects. These frequencies were studied in the music of King David and believed to have astounding healing effects. Now you can benefit from this revitalized ancient healing music therapy simply by listening daily to this music in the comfort of your own home, car, or office. Reward yourself with the gift of healing and transformation. Don't miss this opportunity to get an absolutely free sample of this music so that you can begin benefiting right away. Just visit WholeTonesLive.com and get a free sample of these soothing, relaxing, revitalizing musical tones. Visit WholeTonesLive.com today for your free sample. That's WHOLETONES Live.com. WholeTonesLive.com.
Blog Talk Radio.
This is the Wealthy Wednesday radio show with Lucy McMonagle, helping you create a lifestyle and business that you love. Lucy is an intuitive success coach who specializes in assisting and training for lifestyle and business success. As a member of your own university and an associate member of the Women's Speakers Association, she brings over 20 years of serial entrepreneurship, internet business training, and financial training to the table. Lucy is on a mission to empower and inspire holistic entrepreneurs to become wealthier. Let's begin that journey together as we welcome the host of the Wealthy Wednesday radio show, Lucy McMonagle.
Today. I wanted to thank you for taking the time out. I'd also love it if you would like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Wealthy Wednesday Radio. Again, our Facebook page is facebook.com/Wealthy Wednesday Radio. The Wealthy Wednesday Radio Show is for holistic entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, fempreneurs, and small business owners that are interested in increasing their knowledge, education, skills, and abilities to increase their wealth. My goal, personally, is to inspire and empower you to become more wealthier. In today's show, I have a very, very special guest. Her name is Mary Liu, and Mary Liu is passionately committed to empowering women to find their voice and speak their truth so that they can be seen and heard for the confident, authentic self, so that they can use these skills to overcome challenges in their business, relationships, and their life. Mary is an award-winning entrepreneur and women's empowerment mentor. She is an internationally acclaimed inspirational speaker who shares her story of overcoming adversity that is filled with life lessons that inspire audiences globally. She is a co-author of the best-selling book, Speaking Your Truth, Courageous Stories from Inspiring Women, and the founder of Truth for Transformation, a firm that provides a platform for women to share their story to people that need to hear it. Mary is the creator and executive producer of the Speak Your Truth Conference and executive producer of the new Own Your Story, Own Your Success TV talk show. Mary has appeared on numerous radio and international television talk shows, sharing her wisdom on women's empowerment and visibility strategies to a global audience. She loves to travel, ballroom dance, and sing karaoke. She gives back to SmileTrain.org, an organization that is very close to her heart. Please help me welcome to the show Mary Liu. Hello,
Hi,
Mary Liu.
Lucy.
Hi.
Hi, Lucy. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. I'm so grateful you're here on the radio show today. I really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me to be on the show to share with your audience some of my story and my wisdom. You know, I'm all about storytelling, and that's my favorite thing to do.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. So can you explain that a little bit more?
You know, my story, I believe that when you are able to share your story, your personal story and your professional story, you know, as an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 22, but I learned that the more that you're able to share your story, the more that you are going to be able to create that know, like, and trust factor to attract your ideal clients and to be able to not have to sell yourself, because people hate to be sold to, but people really love to be connected with people that they know, like, and trust. And that's why when I'm at speaking engagements, when I'm doing TV and radio, I share a lot of the story because this is their first opportunity to meet me. And the more that I can share who I am, the more that they get to know me. So that's why I love what I do. And would you like to hear my story now?
I would love to hear your story. That would be a great way to start off this radio show.
Sure. Well, my story begins the day that I was born. You see, I had 2 strikes against me. I was born with a cleft palate and a cleft lip. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's a facial deformity where the root of my mouth was not formed when I was born. So I had a gaping hole in the front of my in my mouth. And the second strike I had was I was born a girl in a Chinese family. And for those of you that are listening who are in that culture, you know, girls really don't mean anything to a traditional Chinese family. And I had to really prove myself, not really prove, but earn the love from my parents from as young as, you know, birth, actually. I had 5 brothers and 2 other sisters, and, you know, in the Chinese family, the girls get married off and they belong to the other side of the family. So having grown up in that kind of environment, not only with the cleft palate and the cleft lip, you know, my mom had to bring me to the hospital, and because there were other kids at home, she would leave me in the hospital, and I'd be there all by myself, and that sense of abandonment and the sense of every time that she looked at me and she had to bring me somewhere for my surgeries, it was like, Mary, you're so much trouble. And then as a girl, you know, little girl, that conditioning from the voices of my mom got instilled into my subconscious, and it was, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have been born. Maybe I'm not worthy, you know. And I grew up with that sense of low self-esteem, no confidence what to speak of, and I really didn't want people looking at me, because when they did, especially as a child, you know, it can be hurtful when they're laughing at you and they're snickering behind your back. In a form, it is a form of bullying, if you think about it. And it was just I felt a lot of shame when I was growing up, not only because of the way I looked, but because we were very poor, and because I felt like I didn't belong. So I carried that shame for 46 years before I really started doing personal development work. And it wasn't until then that I was able to find my voice. You know, in the bio that you shared with your audience, you mentioned that one of my missions is to find your voice and speak your truth. And that's what I mean. you know, having not having a voice and having always to prove myself to earn the love from my parents. I mean, it is a daunting task, and it's a heaviness that I carried. And as I share my story with others, you know, that resonates with a lot of people, that they became somewhat of a perfectionist like I did.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I did was to prove to my mom that I was just as good as my brother. I, who brought home the straight A's, was just as good as my brothers who brought home the straight B's. So it was living into the I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, and basically it came down to I am not enough. So, Lucy, have you ever felt that way, or, you know, the listeners on the line, have you ever felt that way, where it's just like conditioned in your body, in your subconscious, and you grow up that way, just trying to be somebody that you're not?
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and yes, I personally have grown up in a time period where, you know, women were supposed to be barefoot and pregnant in my culture. That was never said. They didn't say it, but that wasn't the path that I wanted to take. And my mom always wanted to have boys. So I was always trying to be a tomboy when I was very feminine. And, you know, the culture shock of growing up, feeling like you're not enough, feeling like you're a failure before you've even known what that word meant was very difficult. And I feel a lot of women who have grown up in various different countries and various different places, they do try to overcompensate for that feeling of not having enough, of not being enough, by doing so much. And this brings a lot of exhaustion to a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. And, you know, a lot of women, it is exhausting to try to live into the person that you think people want you to be, that perception. And I know for women entrepreneurs who have their own business, who are married or have a partner, women entrepreneurs who also have kids, and then trying to juggle all of that and trying to have the perception that you've got it all going on.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh, that is so overwhelming. And I know that to be so true because that is the perception that people had of me. They had no idea that of the turmoil that was going on internally and the shame and the secrets that I held that I didn't want people to know about because I didn't want to shatter the perception that they had of me. But more importantly, you know what it came down to, Lucy, was I didn't want to be judged.
That's a really, really strong point, that a lot of women, they're so afraid of being judged that they hide themselves and they put on this mask or this facade that they do have it all going on and that they're strong and, you know, big girls don't cry. And so they always try to stuff those self-doubt feelings, and it's so incredibly difficult. Now you're known for supporting women so that they can find their voice and to speak their truth. And we've talked a little bit on why it's important to you because of your own story, but can you relate on that a little bit more on how exactly do you support these women so that they can find their voice?
Well, I thank you for asking that question. The finding your voice and speaking your truth. As I shared my story, the story that I shared was just a very small part of my story. The bigger part of my story, in order for me to answer that question, is going through life and having two very successful businesses. I became an entrepreneur at 22. I got laid off, and I didn't have control over what had happened. And I thought, wow, that really sucked. At 22, it's like, what do I do? And I decided to start my own business. And I was in the accounting field at the time. So I started my own business, and my first client was my boss who laid me off. And I grew that business with that one decision for 20 years. And that was, I believed in who I was. Now, 20 years later, I did a change of career, and I went into the travel industry. And I helped over 5,000 people across the U.S. and Canada start their own home-based businesses. And that, again, was I took that leap of faith. But what happened, and as I share, hiding behind the mask and the perception. So the perception was I had two very successful businesses, and people, and I'm married 26 years, I have two great kids, so everybody thought I had it going on. As I was going through that, when I was 20, there was a tragedy in my family. So not only did I have the low self-esteem, the no confidence, and trying to figure out who the heck I was, and in the meantime building these successful businesses, at age 20, my parents were murdered.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And it took me 28 years before I finally forgave the person who killed them. And I share that a lot of what I kept inside was the shame and the secrets. And the shame and the secrets that I held that nobody, not even my sisters, not even my brothers, the shame that I felt was the guilt behind what had happened and how I was feeling. And you see, the person that killed my parents was my 14-year-old brother at the time. And when you're 20 years old and people ask you about your parents and your family, and I had to share, what had happened, I tell them my parents were killed, they're no longer here, and at age 20, people are curious, like, wow, what happened? What happened? And the questions come, right?
Uh-huh.
And it was so painful because I had not worked through that. The other thing was it was so painful because, remember, I didn't have any confidence at that time. And how can I possibly tell them that it was my 14-year-old brother that did it? Because heaven forbid, what would they think of me? So I decided it was easier not to bring up the subject. It was easier to say I had 4 brothers and not 5. And I just squashed it deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper into my subconscious. I didn't want to deal with it. However, I also was having nightmares for 28 years over it. And that was something that my family did not know that I was going through. And when I talk about the shame and the secrets, I hid that from the world. And it wasn't until 2009. My parents died in 1983, and it wasn't until 2009 that I found the courage to find my voice and to do some personal development in order for me to share what had happened, in order for me to finally find forgiveness for my brother, but more importantly, to find forgiveness for myself. And it was that day that was very empowering, that I was able to forgive, and then in a room full of strangers to be able to share for the first time what had happened. And it was at that point that I truly found my voice, and I was able to be vulnerable. I was able to share and not worry about the judgment of what people thought about me, because it wasn't about me. It was really about the situation, you know. And I share that when people are able to open up in their personal stories about what happened to them, what forms them into the person that they are today, and the more that you can open up and be vulnerable and let people see who you are, the authentic you, that actually doesn't show weakness. That actually shows you as being a very courageous person. And people really gravitate towards that person because they know that, wow, if you can be that authentic, that's who I want to work with. That's who I want to hang around with. That's who I want to be friends with and to form a relationship with. And when I say finding your voice, it means speaking, finding that place within you to let people know who you are, what you're thinking, without any fear of judgment coming back at you.
That's really, really powerful. So let me make sure that I understand that the most important and the most empowering day of your life was when you were able to forgive your brother for creating these circumstances of murdering your parents, and that helped you become stronger, and it also allowed you to become free from the inside out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I share my stories, you know, at colleges, at universities, to help young people realize that they can find that confidence. They can increase their self-esteem. They can learn from the lessons that I've gone through, that they don't have to wait 46 years to find their voice. You know, a lot of the other audience members that I speak to are to women's organizations. And we were talking earlier about the women that wear the mask, the women that are keeping up with that perception of who, trying to be that perfect person, trying to be that superwoman, you know, letting them know as well that it's okay to let people know that you're not perfect. It's okay to let people know that you're not superwoman, because there is no such person. And if there is one, I want to meet her. I want to know what her secret is, right? I don't believe truly there is anybody out there like that.
I would have to agree with you. I believe that we can develop into more of an authentic, empowered person, but to be a superwoman per se, that persona really hasn't been obtainable for people.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to take a short commercial break, and I wanted to make sure that if people wanted to go to your website, that is www.truthfortransformation.com. That's truthfortransformation.com, and that's your website. You're Mary Liu, and we're going to take a short break, so hang on for a moment.
Hugs, empowering women to feel, look, and be their best. Sometimes we just need a hug and some inspiration to remember how great we are. I've been leading women who have suffered the pain and self-doubt that comes after abuse to their true beauty and power for decades. Tune in each Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern, when Hugs reaches out to you. Listen from your own computer at uscradioproductions.com. Learn more about me, Antika, and listen to past shows at antiqualibby.com. That's ANTIQUALIBBEY.com. Imagine having more time and energy to get everything done. Your body is in perfect proportion, your relationships are thriving, and you have enough time to dream. Would you like to know how to live that way? Divine in 9 is a full body, mind, spirit online wellness event that takes the struggle and drama that keeps you waiting to enjoy your life while you fix yourself and gives you the tools to live your best life now. No matter what your past might have you believe, you are divinely made and have a divine purpose. Sign up for our teleseries at antiqualibby.com/programs.
The Wealthy Wednesday radio show is on every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Join me, Lucy McMonagle, an abundance breakthrough coach, author, and public speaker, as your host, as I interview expert guests that will inspire and empower you. Listen every Wednesday or catch the archived shows by going to Blog Talk Radio /Ambitious Women Unite Radio. That's blogtalkradio.com /Ambitious Women Unite Radio. Join me, your host, Lucy McMonagle, for the Wealthy Wednesday radio show every Wednesday. Hello, and welcome back to the Wealthy Wednesday radio show. This is your host, Lucy McMonagle. I really appreciate you continuing to listen. Today we're talking with Mary Liu from Truth for Transformation, and we've been having an incredibly empowering discussion. Mary, are you still there?
I am.
Fabulous. Now I wanted to find out, we were talking about your own story, and I wanted to know, what does it mean to own your story? And you say when you own your story, you own your success. Can you explain to us what you mean by that?
Yes, absolutely. What I mean by that is there are two stories that you can share when you are in conversation with somebody. So for coaches, for speakers, for entrepreneurs, your personal story, as I shared my personal story just now, did any emotions come up for you? Could you see yourself can you see yourself within the story that I told? Situations where maybe where you didn't feel like you were enough. Situations where you felt like you were hiding behind the persona of who you wanted people to see. Did you see yourself of hiding and the shame and the secrets of something that you're holding back? So that's in the personal side of the story. When you're talking about your professional side of your story, you share about some of the struggles that you've had when building your business. You're talking about the successes that you have, right? When you are able to share the real you, both the good and the bad, it helps attract people to you, like I shared with you before at the beginning of this talk. You know, when you're able to do that, the audience that you attract are going to become your biggest fans. And you no longer, I'm talking now, switching over to the entrepreneurial world, because I know you're talking about wealth here. You no longer need to sell to people, right? All you need to do is be yourself. Letting them know that, you know, when people come from, oh, I'm so successful, I'm so wealthy, a lot of people who are struggling or who are brand new or who are just new into their business, in their mind, they can't relate to you because they feel like, well, she's already there, and I'm not there yet, so I don't get her. But if you're that same person who's had the success, who's had the wealth, who can share your struggles, like it wasn't always that way, here's what I had to go through to get to where I am, then that person listening to you can now relate to you, to say, she gets me. She totally gets where I'm at. And because she gets me, I want to work with her. And when I talk about owning your story, owning your success in a business arena, that's what I mean. Now, owning your story, owning your success in your own personal, finding inner peace within yourself, what I mean by that is being able to look at the shadows of what you've really kind of pushed down into your subconscious, saying, I know I went through all of that, but I don't really want to deal with it. That was in my past, and I don't need to bring that up. But the thing is, the more that you push it down and the more that you don't deal with it, the more that it actually is like this black cloud hanging over your head. It will not let you live a happy life. It's not going to allow you to have the relationships that you so desire. And it's not going to allow you to find inner peace with your past. And when you are able to really look at that, then that is when you own your own success. Because, again, it took me 28 years to get to that point, to be able to release the shame and the secrets that was holding me back. And I want that for women. My entire mission, I went on a 3-year search for my life purpose. And I knew that my life purpose was more than the businesses that I created. And I knew that it had to do with my past. I knew that I wouldn't have gone through everything from my past if it wasn't to serve a bigger purpose. But it took me 3 long years in order to find what that purpose was. And for listeners on the line, if you are in that space like, what is my bigger purpose? Here's what I did. Every time an opportunity came my way, one of the things that I said that I was going to create in this business, my third business, was this business, number one, had to make my heart sing. It had to serve not only financially for me, but it had to serve where I am empowering and making a positive difference for people across the world with the message that I had to share. So every time an opportunity came my way, I had to think, does this make my heart sing? If I were to do that, does it make my heart sing? And if it didn't, I wouldn't do it. And that's why it took me 3 long years to really figure this out. And hopefully for those women out there who are saying, I don't want to wait 3 years, that's where I can help them as well as a certified dream coach, really learning, what it is that you want to do. I wish somebody had helped me so I didn't have to wait 3 years to do this. But once you are able to do that, oh my goodness, the world and the opportunities, the right opportunities really come looking for you. So I hope that answers your question. That was kind of like a long answer to that question.
That answered it beautifully. And now you mentioned that you help women, and you have some type of offering that you do help women with this to start out with?
I do. I have several various ways that I help women. 1 is, if they want to work with me to create and develop what their backstory is and how they can incorporate that into their business. How to use things from their past and present in order to create a story that they can tell when they're at a networking event, when they're in front of the room, and when they're doing various speaking opportunities, or how to tell their story in order to share it with their ideal clients. So I help women create and craft and bring out that story, the best story for them to give a teaching. Now, the other part of it is if you are in the place where you need to say, I do have things in my past that the shame and the secrets that I'm holding back. For those women, I bring them into a smaller retreat, into a very sacred space for them to be able to share and be open to share along with other women, what I love to call my sisterhood of women, where they can share and bring forth and work through some of the shadow work, some of the shadows and shame that they're hiding behind without, and this is the important part, without fear of judgment. Now, for those women who have worked through their stories, who are now at the point where they're saying, I want to empower and inspire and give hope to other women with the lessons that I've learned through my own story. I want to bring that out on a bigger way. And how I support them with that is through my Speak Your Truth conference, where they're able to stand on stage and share the real, authentic them in that story, as well as on my TV show and on my web TV show as well. So lots of different ways for, depending on where the woman is in her story, of where I can place her and where I can support her if it's not me, be able to introduce her to people who can support her with her own healing.
And the person, if they wanted to get in touch with you in regards to your conference, your retreat, or your website, which website should they go to for that?
The best place to find everything is at Truth for Transformation. That's TRUTH for FOR Transformation. So I'm all about women speaking their truth and living their truth.
That's incredible, Mary. I am so honored. Now, I wanted to know, you've been speaking about helping women find their shadow self, to bring that into the light, to let go of the pain and let go of the secrets and the shame. Do you have a conference coming up anytime soon?
I do. I actually, for the women who want to work on helping them release the shadows that they're, you know what, the shadows sometimes, they don't even know, they in their minds, they know there's something there, but sometimes, a lot of times, they don't even know what that shadow is until they start working on that personal journey. And for that smaller environment, what I have is the retreat that's coming up, April 10th through the 12th of 2015. We're keeping this retreat to a small group of women, to no more than 15 women. We're having it in a small private home set in nature, and it's in Half Moon Bay. I'm bringing in a private chef who's going to cook us a delicious organic meal on those days that we're going to be there, but really being held in sisterhood for them to work through that. And can I share a funny story with you
absolutely.
about the shadow work?
Yes,
so
please.
one of my mentors, when I was going through a lot of my personal development, I bought into her course. And one of the courses was, and prior to going into that course, I did a lot of already personal development work. And I went to the course, and it was a trip to Mexico, a retreat in Mexico. And it was the most fabulous trip of my life. I ended up in a week's time having 3 massages and being on the beach and being held in sacred environment and being around women who were there to hear me, to really hear me without judgment. And did all that work with her. So then I went to her second part of the workshop, a few months later. And I go into that workshop, and one of the ways that we always start our circles is, what brings you here today? So I start out with in the circle saying, I don't have anything else. I have nothing else to work through, nothing else. I've done all the personal development work years ago, and you know what? And then more things came out in Mexico, so now I'm just kind of here because this workshop was part of my package that I got, And then all of a sudden we're in this process, and I'm bawling, crying the ugly tears, and it's like, oh, my gosh, where did that come from? And then, because you never know what's kind of buried down in your subconscious mind. And the thing is, it's only going to come up when you're ready for it to come up. But you've got to be in a place where it allows you to come up and allows you to be in a safe place for it to come up. So then that's my second workshop. And then going into the third workshop, I come on and I'm telling my mentor, it's like, okay, for real, this time there's nothing, absolutely nothing else coming up, right? I've worked through it all. And then we're looking at this, doing another process, and there's this black and white photo that's just an abstract photo, and all of a sudden here I am bawling my eyes out. And something else is coming up. It's like, oh, my goodness. And it's just like peeling back the layers of who you really are. So I come into her fourth and final workshop, and she's like, at this point, okay, Mary, what else is why are you here? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea what's going to come up. I'm just going to be here and see what comes up. And that fourth and final one, nothing came up. But it was so, looking back, it was very hilarious thinking, oh, I worked it all, And even today, there are still things that come up. And I'm always a work in progress, and I say there's always things that come up, things that you can work through for your past, but then things even in the present day, things that come up for you. So that's just a funny story that I love to share. It's like you never know what your little subconscious mind is wanting to come out. But I really believe that it comes out at a time when you're able to handle it. And the universe gets, things get thrown at you. And you only get thrown into a place where they know the universe or God or your spirit to the point where you can still handle it.
That's true. That's so true. And there are so many layers beneath the layers that we're not always aware of. And sometimes it really takes, 3, 4, 5 different times of going to different sacred places that honors you and allows you to explore these areas of us, to let them go. Now, is there
Absolutely.
any... So you were mentioning that you have a small retreat coming up April 10th through the 12th. That's in 2015. That's just a few weeks away. Is there any spaces available for anybody to sign up yet, or is it booked out?
Yes, there are some spaces available, and for those of you that are listening, we are giving a very special bonus for the people that do register, and bonus is a 30-minute consultation with myself and my co-facilitator, Kara McKay, who does a lot of the sacred work with dealing with the shadows. So for those of you who sign up, you will get the extra 30 minutes with both myself to really creating your story and working through your backstory, and then with Kara.
Okay, so is that 30 minutes a piece, or is that 30 minutes on a conference call with you two?
Oh, a piece.
Oh, so that's an entire hour between.
Yes, that's
30 minutes
hour.
for you and 30 minutes for her, and they can register for this retreat at retreat.truthfortransformation.com. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's, again, just in case you didn't catch that, that's www.retreat.truthfortransformation.com. And this is to Live Your Truth retreat, which is April 10th through the 12th, 2015. And with that, we're going to take a short commercial break to honor our sponsors again, and then we'll be right back with Mary Liu. So hang on for a moment.
Ladies, are you one of those millions of women still suffering from the pain and devastation of divorce? 21 of the world's top divorce recovery experts will be available free at the Better Than Ever After Divorce World Online Healing Summit. Sign up today and access your free ebook, Living Again After Divorce, by Dr. D. Adio Moses at betterthanEverAfterDivorce.com. It is free and you deserve it.
Lucy McMonagle is a business and lifestyle transformational coach. Listen up to learn more about what this means for you. You have abilities, some of which you currently use, some that can be tweaked. Your intuition is your compass. It guides you towards your destination. Sometimes, however, the destination is a tad off, which is where Lucy comes in. Lucy went from poverty to wealth by utilizing innate abilities that she discovered she had in order to mold her talents around money-making opportunities. After a short conversation with you, Lucy can determine whether she can help you find your way to wealth and prosperity. Visit LucyMcMonagle.com and book a free clarity session now and discover where your life leads. That's LucyMcMonagle.com. Become inspired, empowered, and wealthy now.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Wednesday radio show. This is your host, Lucy McMonagle. I really appreciate you listening and staying with us. Today we're talking with Mary Liu from truthfortransformation.com, and we were discussing a phenomenal retreat she has coming up April 10th through the 12th, 2015, called Live Your Truth Retreat. The website for that is www.retreat.truthfortransformation.com. Welcome back, Mary.
Thank you.
So I wanted to know, what is one success in your life that you would like to celebrate with us today?
One success in my life. I am grateful for all of the experiences that I had. I think one of the biggest success that I had, I would have to say, was in 2009. And a lot of things happened for me in 2009, and this one particular success is in 2006. I actually had a fear of public speaking. And, today I speak on stages around the world. But in 2006, I had a fear of public speaking. And one of the things that really brought me out of that was I mentioned that I have two boys, and I had served on the PTA. See, I was an overachiever supermom. So I served on both of my kids' PTA schools at the same time. So talk about crazy. Wow. But one of the schools that I served on was I had been secretary, financial secretary, vice president, and then naturally the next step would be president of PTA, right?
Mhm.
But, however, one of the things, and everybody said, Mary, you're the natural person to go for this, and go through the process, and you'll be it. But one of the biggest challenges that stopped me from even applying was I knew that on the first day of school, I had to step on stage and address 1,200 parents as PTA president.
Wow.
Keep in mind, this was before I started doing any personal development work, okay? This is at the point when I didn't want people to hear me, didn't want people to see me, in fear of that whole judgment piece. And I went to my sister who was in Toastmasters, and I said, here's my dilemma. I want this position. However, I can't speak in front of that 1,200 people. I can barely speak and open my mouth when we're in a small conference room with 10 people. How am I going to get on stage and share about what the PTA is all about? And one of the things that she told me was, are you going to let fear stop you from getting what you want? So write that down for those that are listening and really listen to this. Are you going to let fear stop you from getting what you want? And in that moment, I said no, because I knew that I can do a fabulous job in that position, and I really wanted it. And so on the first day of school, I got elected. And on the first day of school, I got up there, the principal, I was shaking before I got announced. And I got up there and I said my piece, and, it was the longest 1 minute in my life. But it felt like I was up there forever. And when I got off stage, people said, oh, you did great. And I said, well, I was so nervous. And they said, well, you didn't look nervous. And that was my first time really getting out there and being seen and being heard. Well, 2.5 years later, imagine me behind the stage, waiting for my name to be called, and I'm at the Rams Stadium in St. Louis. And I'm in the back waiting for my name to be called, and tears are streaming down my face. And my sister is there, and she's saying, are you scared? Are you scared to go out there and speak? And I said, no, I'm not. I'm just so grateful to be here.
Wow.
Even as I'm sharing this, my body is just like remembering that moment of that success. And I hear my name called. I step on stage, and out in the audience, I'm looking at 18,000 people looking at me. 18,000 people in the Rams Stadium. And here I am, 2.5 years before having that fear of public speaking. And that was a huge success for me. And it was a huge success. Part of and I'm gonna wrap this up. You're saying, oh my goodness, and the audience members who are listening are probably saying, oh my goodness, what a huge success, right?
Yes.
And it truly was. But would you believe that 2 years later, I am sitting with a girlfriend, and I didn't know this girlfriend was actually in the audience at the time. She was up in the nosebleed section. And she says to me, we're having this conversation, and she says to me, Mary, I was so proud of you, seeing you on that stage, because I knew where you had come from and where you were in that moment. And my response to her was, oh, that was nothing. And I didn't say that to be arrogant. I didn't say that like just kind of brushing it off. That was the conditioning from my growing up, that you're not supposed to brag about yourself, that you don't boast about yourself, that you don't want to, in fear of people judging you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what she said to me has changed my life, and that's what I pass on to other people. When I say own your story, own your success, one thing that she said to me was, own it, Mary. Own what you did and the success that you had from that moment. And it was from that moment on that I owned every success, every challenge, and every success that I had from that point. And that's what I instill in my clients and people that hear my message. It's like, own your story, own your challenges, and when you overcome that challenge, own your success. And that's what I want to leave people with today. Own it. And the way that you can own it is to find your voice and be able to speak your truth of who you are, knowing that your voice matters, knowing that you are enough.
That's amazing, and that's so incredibly empowering. I am so grateful that you've been on the Wealthy Wednesday radio show. We have just about 5 minutes left, and we're going to be wrapping this up. So if you needed to get a hold of Mary Liu, her website is truthfortransformation.com. That's TRUTHFOR transformation.com. And you can also reach her for the live retreat that she's going to be having April 10th through the 12th, 2015 at retreat.truthfortransformation.com. Mary, I really want to thank you for being on the Wealthy Wednesday radio show. I am so grateful you have given us so many tidbits of wisdom and empowerment, and to help women to really, truly own their story so that they can own their challenges. And when they overcome these challenges, they can truly own their success. Did you have any final words that you wanted to part with us, any wisdoms you wanted to leave us with?
Yes. I thought if you go into my Truth for Transformation website, you can pick up my 6 steps to owning your story, owning your success. There is a handout in there that you can really read about and be able to implement some of the things that I shared today.
That's incredible. So you have at your website 6 tips to own your own story for success, and people can pick that up for free at truthfortransformation.com. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Fabulous. Well, thank you again for listening to Wealthy Wednesday radio show. We're going to be ending just a few moments, and we wish you a wonderful, wonderful week, and hopefully you'll be here next week at the Wealthy Wednesday radio show. Many blessings.
Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Wednesday radio show with Lucy McMonagle every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join us next time for more in the way of expert interviews with excellent guests and entrepreneurship and business tips that'll help you better your personal and business life. For excellent resources and to personally contact Lucy McMonagle, visit lucymcmonagle.com. Until next time, so long, everybody.